Okay, in today's video, we're going to be talking about the top 5 things that I hate about the DJI Avata. And honestly, I really had to dig for this because there's not a lot that I don't like about this drone. Let's get started. What's good, everybody? Ken here. You're watching OriginaldoBo, and no release is perfect. There's always going to be something that won't please somebody. And I've drummed up the top 5 things that I dislike about the Avata. I can't even really use hate because hate's such a strong word, but let's just jump into it with number 1 and probably the most obvious, which is the build quality. Now, the build quality of the Avata is plastic at heart, and because it is plastic, it does make me question the overall strength of it should you happen to hit something hard enough. Now, during my review and testing, I didn't try to go out of my way to crash this really hard. However, I did hit a tree a few times and didn't really notice any single damage to the unit. However, because these ducts aren't flexible, I feel like eventually they will break, and when they do, we will always have to wonder how hard it will be to repair this. Now, I do plan on doing a full teardown video of the Avata to see just how easy it is to replace these ducts. Hopefully it is a little bit easier to fix than the FPV drone, but that's the top reason why I dislike plastic builds, is because eventually and inevitably you will break something. All right, let's get into number 2. All right, number 2 is the fact that I cannot hand land this drone. Because the props are done up in a pusher configuration, it means that landing this in your hand is going to be a lot more dangerous, and I highly would not recommend it. Even grabbing this from the top is not a good idea. If I grab this from the top, the motors immediately start spooling up and the drone tries to take off again. So for me, that likes to fly from locations where the only way I can launch a drone is to hand launch it, this is a big bummer and probably one of the things that I dislike the most about the Avata. Of course, you can try to land this in your hand manually by just letting it drop, but it still doesn't solve the takeoff issue. Let's get into number 3. All right, number 3 doesn't really have anything to do with the drone itself. However, it does have to do with the goggles. Now, if you watch my first impressions video, you'll know that I complained about the light leak. Unfortunately, the foam that comes on these stock is just not all that great and doesn't sort of cup the face the way I would have hoped it would have. Unfortunately, it just doesn't. And because it doesn't cup the face well enough, if you are facing in the direction where there's sun behind you, you will get light leaks in your goggles. My only hope is that DJI or a third-party manufacturer creates some sort of foam that we can put in here essentially to get rid of those light leaks and, one, stop making it push down on my nose, because then I sound like this every time I talk with my goggles on. So I think that's one of my biggest gripes and probably one of the easiest ones to actually fix. But as of right now, it's still a gripe and something I don't like. All right, let's get into number 4. All right, number 4 has to do with the drone, and this is such a silly thing, and it's the fact that the SD card location is right in between the props. Now, if we were just using 3-blade props on these, this would make sense because it would be easy to access, but because we are using a 5-blade prop, it makes it very, very difficult to get your SD card in and out, and it also makes it really difficult to get that USB-C cable into the port because of where it's actually located. It's actually right here on the left-hand side, and there's like this little flap that you have to get at, and you can see it here, and you can already see why I find this to be a hassle, and I think a lot of people will agree with me. There would have been a better spot to put this, but that's where it is, and it's just something we have to deal with. But I'm not a big fan of the SD card slot, so that is my number 4 reason and number 4 thing I don't like about the Avata. Let's get into number 5. All right, number 5 sort of contradicts something I said about it that I liked, which is the return to home, but the return to home also can be your biggest enemy. When I was doing some one-take fly-throughs in houses, I had the return to home set. And because I had the return to home set, when the battery got low, the drone started rising all the way to the ceiling and basically just sort of pegged itself out onto the ceiling and didn't really know how to navigate back to me. Because there's no sensors above it, it doesn't know that it's reaching an altitude that it cannot exceed. So for me, this is something easily mitigated just by changing my return to home when I'm doing fly-throughs in homes to hover, or just be a little bit more mindful of my battery life. But for me, I think that the return to home is probably one of the more scary things when you are flying this, especially because it is a low flying drone and it's meant for proximity. So that's why I'm putting it at number 5. It's not like a huge thing, but it is something you want to be mindful of, is that you will want to pay attention to your return to home settings a little bit more frequently than you would with a DJI Mavic or a Mini 3. All right, and that rounds out the top 5 things that I dislike about the DJI Avata. I would love to hear what you dislike about the Avata. Maybe you've seen the same things or the similar things that I have seen. And if you were considering buying this, does anything that I just told you in this video make you not want to buy it? Personally, I don't think any of these things are deal breakers. A lot of them have easy solutions, with a few of them not having any solutions like the SD card. But honestly, to me, that still doesn't feel like too much of a deal breaker. Anyways, I will see you in the next video. And if you haven't seen the top 5 things that I love about the Avata, go ahead and check out this card up here for that video as well. And I will see you next time. Stay original.
They checking for me, no one checking on me, so I had to go run up a check. I got the message on me, ain't no flexing on me, my attorney gon' call and collect. Blessings on blessings for me, my successes only made them envious, they got upset. I had to put all their egos in check. I want the money to